Okay, I'm about to speedrun the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. Timer starts when I get to the first page. Alright, here we go. First of all, let me get something straight. This is a journal, not a diary. I know what it says on the cover, but when Mom went out to buy this thing, I specifically told her to get one that didn't say diary on it. Great. All I need is for some jerk to catch me carrying this book around and get the wrong idea. Sissy, punch. The other thing that I want to clear up right away is that this is my mom's idea, not mine. But if she thinks I'm gonna write down my feelings in here or whatever, she's crazy. So don't expect me to be all dear diary and dear diary this and dear diary that. The only reason I agreed to do this is because I figure later on when I'm rich and famous, I'll have better things to do than answer people's questions all day long. So this book is going to come in handy. Gregory, tell us about your childhood. Were you always so smart and handsome? Here's my journal now. Shoo. Like I said, I'll be famous one day, but for now I'm stuck in the middle of school with a bunch of nerds. Let me just say for the record, I think that middle school is the dumbest idea ever invented. You get kids like me who haven't hit their growth spurt yet mixed with these gorillas who need to shave twice a day. And then they wonder why bullying is such a big problem in middle school. If it was up to me, grade levels would be based on height, not age. But then again, I guess that would mean kids like Craig Gupta would still be in first grade. Today's the first day of school, and right now we're just waiting around for the teacher to hurry up and finish the seating chart, so I figured I might as well write in this book to pass the time. By the way, let me give you some good advice. On the first day of school, you gotta be real careful where you sit. If you walk into the classroom and plunk yourself next to any old desk, and the next thing you know, the teacher's saying, I hope you all like your seats because where you're sitting is your permanent seats. because these are your permanent seats. So in this class, I got stuck with Chris Hosey in front of me and Lynell James behind me. This is so slow. Jason Brill came in late and almost sat to my right, but luckily I stopped them from happening last second. Is this seat taken? Yes. Next period, I should just sit in the middle of a bunch of hot girls as soon as I step into the room, but I guess if I do that it just proves I didn't learn anything from last year. Greg, will you please pass this note to Shelley? Greg is a dork. Why, certainly. Ha. Man, I don't know what was up with girls these days. It used to be a whole lot simpler back in elementary school. The deal was if you were the fastest runner in your grade, you got all the girls. In fifth grade, the fastest runner ever was Ronnie McCoy. Nowadays, it's a whole lot of complicated. Now it's about it's about how rich you are, or if you're cute or whatever. And kids like Ronnie McCoy are scratching their heads wondering what happened. The most popular boy in my grade is Bryce Anderson. The thing that always really stinks is that I've always been the girls, but kids like Bryce only come around in the last couple of years. I remember how Bryce used to act back in elementary school. Of course, now I don't get any credit from sticking to the girls all the time. Like I said, Bryce is the most popular kid in our grade, so that leaves the rest of us guys scrambling for the other spots. I can figure I'm somewhere. The best I can figure is I'm somewhere around 52nd or 53rd most popular this year. But the good news is I'm about to move up one spot because Charlie Davis is above me and he's getting his braces next week. I try to explain this popularity stuff to my friend Riley, who is probably hovering right around the 150 mark, by the way, but I think it just goes in one ear and out the other with him. Today we had phys ed, so the first thing I did when I got outside was sneak off to the basketball court to see if the cheese touch was still there, and sure enough, it was. That piece of cheese has been sitting there on the blacktop since last spring. I guess it must have dropped out of someone's sandwich or something. After a couple of days, the cheese started getting all moldy and nasty. No one would play basketball on the court where the cheese was, even though that was the only court that had a hoop with a net. Then one day, this kid named Darren Walsh touched the cheese with his finger, and that's when it started this whole thing called the cheese touch. It's basically like the cooties. If you get the cheese touch, you're stuck with it until you pass it on to someone else's screen. If the only way to protect yourself is to touch, is to from the cheese touch is to cross your fingers. But it's but it's not that easy remembering to keep your fingers crossed every moment of the day. I ended up taping mine together so that way it'd stay crossed all the time. I got a D in handwriting, but it was totally worth it. This one kid named Abe Hall got the cheese touch in April, and nobody would ever come near him for the rest of the year. This summer, Abe moved to California and took the cheese touch with him. I just hope that this doesn't start the cheese touch up again because I don't need that kind of stress in my life anymore. I'm having a seriously hard time getting used to the fact that summer is over. I have to get out of bed every morning and go to school. My summer did not exactly start off to a great start, thanks to my older brother, Roderick. A couple of A couple of days ago, in a summer vacation, Roderick woke me up in the middle of the night. He told me I slept through the whole summer, but luckily I woke up just in time for the first day of school. You might be thinking that I was pretty dumb for falling for that one, but Roderick was dressed up in his school clothes and he set my alarm clock ahead to make it look like it was the morning. Plus, he closed all my curtains so that way I couldn't see it was still dark out. After Roderick woke me up, I got dressed and went downstairs to make myself some breakfast like I do every day on a school day. Every morning on a school day. But I guess I must have made a pretty big racket because the next thing I knew, Dad was downstairs yelling at me for eating Cheerios at 3 in the morning. But it took me a minute to figure out what was going on. After I did, I told Dad that Roderick had played a trick on me and he was the one that should be getting yelled at. Dad walked down to the basement to chew Roderick out and I tagged along. I couldn't wait to see Roderick get what was coming to him. But Roderick covered up his tracks pretty good, and to this day, Dad thinks I've got a screw loose or something. Today we got assigned to reading groups. They, they don't come right out to you and tell you from the gifted group or the easy group, but but you can figure it out right away looking at the covers of the books they hand out. I was pretty disappointed to find out that I got put in the gifted group because it just means a lot of extra work. When they did the screening at the end of the past year, I did my best to make sure that I got put in the easy group this year. Mama's real tight with her principal, so I bet she stepped in and made sure I got put in the gifted group again. Mom is saying I'm a smart kid, but that I just don't apply myself. But if there's one thing I learned from Roderick, it's to set people's expectations real low, so that way you end up surprising them by basically doing nothing at all. Actually, I'm kind of glad my plan to get put in the easy group didn't work. I saw a couple of the Bink Says Boo kids holding their books upside down. I don't think they were joking. Well, for the first week of school is finally over, so today I slept in. Most kids wake up early on Saturday, watch cartoons or whatever, but not me. The only reason I get out of bed on the weekends is because eventually I can't stand the taste of my own breath anymore. Unfortunately, Dad wakes up at 6 in the morning, no matter what day of the week it is, so he's not real considerate of the fact that I'm trying to enjoy my Saturday like a normal person. I did not have anything to do today, so I just headed up to Riley's house. Riley is technically my best friend, but that is definitely a subject to change. I've been avoiding Riley since the first day of school when he did something that really annoyed me. We were getting our stuff from our lockers at the end of the day, and Riley came up to me and said, "Want to come over to my house and play?" I have told Riley that at least a billion times in middle school you're not supposed to say hang out but play. No matter how many noogies I give him, he always seems to forget the next time. I've been trying to make it a lot more. I'm trying to be a lot more careful about my image since I got to middle school, and having Riley around is definitely not helping. I met Riley a few years ago when he moved to the neighborhood. His mom bought this book called How to Make Friends in New Places, and he came to my house trying all these dumb gimmicks. I guess I kind of felt sorry for Riley, and I decided to take him under my wing. It's been great having him around because I get to use all the tricks that Roger pulls on me. I'm not gonna read the speech bubbles when I don't have to. You know how I said I play all sorts of pranks, alright? Well, I have a little brother named Manny, and I could never get away with pulling any of that stuff on him. Mom and Dad protect Manny like he's a prince or something, and even if he gets in trouble, he really does, and he never gets in trouble, even if he really deserves it. Yesterday, Manny drew a self-portrait on my bedroom door on permanent marker. I thought that Mom and Dad were really gonna let him have it, but as usual, I was wrong. But the thing that bugs me the most about Manny is that is the nickname he has for me. When I was a baby, when he was a baby, he couldn't pronounce brother and started calling me Bubby. He still calls me that, even though even though I keep trying to get Mom and Dad to make him stop. Luckily, none of my friends have found out yet, but believe me, I have some really close calls. Mom makes me help Manny get ready for school in the morning. After I make Manny his breakfast, he carries his cereal bowl to the family room, sits on his plastic potty. And when it's time for him to go to daycare, he gets up and dumps whatever he didn't eat right into the toilet. Mom is always getting on me about not finishing my breakfast, but if she had to scrape cornflakes out of the bottom of a plastic potty every morning, she wouldn't have much of an appetite either. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I am super good at video games. I'll bet that I could beat anyone in my grade head to head. Unfortunately, Dad does not appreciate my skills. He's always getting on me about going outside and doing something active. So tonight after dinner, Dad started harassing me about going outside. I tried to explain in video games you can play sports like football and soccer. You don't even get all hot and sweaty. But as usual, Dad didn't see my logic. Dad's a pretty good smart guy in general. Dad's a pretty good smart guy in general. But when it comes to common sense, I wonder about him. I'm sure Dad would dismantle my game system if he could figure out how to do it. But luckily, the people who make these things make them parent-proof. Every time Dad kicks me out of the house to do something sporty, I just go to rallies and play my video games there. Unfortunately, the only games I play at rallies are car racing games and stuff like that. Because whenever I bring up a game to Riley's house, his dad looks at it, looks up on some parent's website, and if the game has any fighting or violence in it, he won't let us play. I'm getting a little sick of Formula One racing with Riley because he's not a serious gamer like me. All I have to do is to beat Riley is name a car something ridiculous at the beginning of the game. And then when you pass Riley's car, he just falls to pieces. Anyway, after I got done mopping the floor with Riley, I headed home. I I ran it through the neighbor's sprinkler a couple of times to make it look like I was all sweaty, and that seemed to do the trick for Dad. My trick kind of backfired because as soon as Mom saw me, she made me go upstairs to take a shower. I guess Dad must have been pretty happy with himself for making me go outside yesterday because he didn't do it again today. It's been getting really annoying having to go up to Riley's house every time I want to play video games. There's a weird kid named Fregley who lives halfway between my house and Riley's, and Fregley is always hanging out in his front yard, so it's pretty hard to avoid him. Fregley is in my phys ed class at school, and he has his made-up language. Like when he needs to go to the bathroom, he says juice, juice. But us kids have pretty much figured out Fregley by now. I don't think that the teachers really have caught on yet. Today, I probably would have gone to rallies on my own today, but my brother Roderick and his band were practicing down in the basement. Roderick's band is really awful, and I can't stand being home when they're having rehearsals. His band is called Loaded Diaper, and it's only spelled Loaded Diaper on Roderick's band. You might think he spelled it to make it look cooler, but I bet if you told Roderick how Loaded Diaper was really spelled, it would be news to him. Dad was against the idea of Roderick starting a band, but Mom was all for it. He's the one who taught. He's the one who. She's the one who brought Roderick his first drum set. I think Mom had the idea that we were all gonna learn how to play instruments and become one of those family bands like you see on TV. Dad really hates metal, and that's kind of music that Roderick's band plays. I don't think my mom really cares what Roderick plays or listens to because to her all music is the same. And in fact, earlier today, Roderick was listening to some of the CDs in the family room, and Mom came in and started dancing. That really bugged Roderick, so he drove off to the store and came back 15 minutes later with some headphones that pretty much took care of the problem. Yesterday, Roderick got a new heavy metal CD, and it was one of those parental warning stickers on it. I never got to listen to those parental warning CDs because Mom and Dad never let me buy them on the mall. So I realized that the only chance I was going to listen to Roderick's CDs is if I snuck out of the house. This morning, Roderick left. I called Riley up and told him to bring a CD player to school. I went down to Roderick's room and took the CD off his rack. You're not allowed to bring personal music players to school, so we had to wait to use it until after lunch when the teachers let us outside. As soon as we got the chance, me and Riley snuck around to the back of the school and loaded up Roderick's CD. But Riley forgot to put the batteries in the CD player, so it was pretty much worthless. And that camp was a great idea for the game. The object was to put the headphones on your head and to try and shake them off without using your hands. The winner was whoever could shake the headphones off in the shortest amount of time. I had the record of 7.5 seconds, but I think I might have shook some of my feelings loose with that one. Right in the middle of the game, Mrs. Craig came around the corner and caught us red-handed. She took the music player away from me and started chewing us out. But I think that she had the wrong idea about what we were doing back there. She started telling us how rock and roll is evil and it's going to ruin our brains. I was going to tell her that there weren't even any batteries in the CD player, but I could just tell that she didn't want to be interrupted, so I waited until she was done, and I said, yes, man. But when Miss Craig was about to let us go, Riley started blubbering about how he didn't want rock and roll to ruin his brains. Honestly, I don't know about that boy. Well, now I've gone and done it. Last night, everyone was in bed. I snuck downstairs to listen to Roger's CD stereo in the room. I put Roger's headphones on and cranked the volume up really high, and then hit play. And then, let me say, I definitely understand why I put the parental warning sticker on the CD, but I only got about here 30 seconds of this first song before I was interrupted. It turns out I didn't have the headphones plugged in to the stereo, so the music was actually coming through the speakers, not him. Dad marched me up to my room and shut the door behind me and said, let's have a talk. Let's you and me have a talk, friend. Whenever Dad's his friend, you know you're in trouble. The first time Dad ever said friend like that to me, I didn't get that he was being sarcastic, so I kind of let my guard down. I don't make that mistake anymore. Tonight, Dad yelled at me for about 10 minutes. I guess he decided he'd rather be in bed than staying in my room with his underwear. He told me that I was grounded for playing video games for 2 weeks, which was about what I expected, and I guess I should be glad that's all he did. The good thing about Dad is that when he gets mad, he seems to he cools off really quick, and it's over. Usually, if you mess up in front of Dad, he just throws whatever he's got in his hands at you. Good time to mess up, bad time to mess up. Mom has a totally different style when it comes to punishment. If you mess up and Mom catches you, the first thing that she does is take a few days to figure out what your punishment would be. And while you're winning, you do all these nice things to try and get off easier. But that after a few days, when you forget that you're in trouble, that's when she lays it on you. This video game ban is a whole lot tougher than I thought it'd be, but at least I'm not the only one who in the family who's in trouble. Roger's got some hot water with him right now. His heavy metal magazines and a picture of Wimpy Kid laying across the hood of the car. Manny bought his show and tell. Anyways, I didn't think I was too happy about getting that phone call. When I saw the magazine myself, I wasn't like honestly anything to get worked up. Mom doesn't allow that kind of stuff in the house. Roger's punishment was that he had to answer a bunch of questions and Mom wrote out for him. I'm not reading those. I'm still grounded for playing video games, so Manny has been using my system. Went out and bought a whole bunch of educational video games, and watching me play them is like torture. The good news is that I finally figured out how to get my games past Riley's dad. I just put them on my desk, and man, he's discovering the alphabet case, and that's all it takes. At school, they announced student government elections were coming up. To be honest with you, I never had any interest in student government, but then I started thinking about it. I realized getting elected treasurer could totally change my situation at the school. Nobody ever thinks about running for treasurer because all everyone cares about are the big ticket positions like vice president and president. So if I figure if I sign up tomorrow, the treasurer does pretty much mine for the taking. Today I went up and put my name on the list to run for the treasurer. Unfortunately, this kid named Marty Porter is running for treasurer too, and he's a real brainy mass, so I might not be as easy as I thought. I told Dad I was running for student government, and he seemed pretty excited. It turns out that he ran for student government when he was my age, and he actually won. Dad dug through some old boxes in the basement and found one of his campaign posters. I thought the poster was pretty good, so I asked Dad to drive me to the store to get some supplies, and I loaded up on poster board and markers, and I spent the rest of the night making my campaign stuff. So let's hope that these posters work. I brought my posters to school today, and I have to say they came out pretty good. I started hanging my posters up as soon as I got in, but they were only up there about 3 minutes before Principal Roy spotted them. Mr. Roy said you weren't allowed to write fabrications about the other candidates, so I told Mr. Roy that the thing about the headlights was true and how it practically closed down the whole school when it happened. But he took out my posters anyway. So today, Marty Porter was going around handing lollipops to buy himself votes, while my posters were sitting at the bottom of Mr. Roy's trash can. I guess this means my political career is officially over. Well, it's finally October, and there are 30 days left until Halloween. Halloween is my favorite holiday, even though Mom says I'm getting too old to go trick-or-treating anymore. Halloween's Dad's favorite holiday, too, but for a different reason. On Halloween night, while all the other parents are handing out candy, Dad is hiding in the bushes with a big trash can full of water. And if any teenagers pass by our driveway, he drenches them. I'm not sure Dad really understands the concept of Halloween, but I'm not going to be the one who spoils his fun. Tonight was the opening of the Crosstown High School haunted house, and I got Mom to agree to take me to Riley. Riley showed up to my house wearing this Halloween costume from last year. When I called him early, I told him just go in regular clothes, but of course he didn't listen. I tried not to let it bother me too much, though. I've never been allowed to go to the Crosstown haunted house before, and I wasn't going to let Riley ruin it for me. Roger told me about it, and I'm looking forward to this for about 3 years. Anyway, when we got to the entrance, I started having second thoughts about going in. Mom said if she was in a hurry to get it over with, so she moved us along. We went through the gate, one scare after another. There were vampires jumping out, and you could see people without heads and all sorts of crazy stuff. Oh no, 17 minutes, I better hurry up. The worst part was an area called Chainsaw Alley. There was a big guy in a hockey mask, and he had a real chainsaw. Roger told me the chainsaws were rubber band, but I wasn't about to take any chances. Right when I looked at the chainsaw guy I was about to get, Mom said to him and called and bailed us out. Mom made the chainsaw guy show us where the exit was, and that was the end of our haunted house experience right there. I guess it was a little embarrassing what Mom did, but I'm willing to let it go this time. The crossing haunted house really got me thinking. Those guys were charging $5 a pop, and the line stretched halfway around the school. I decided to make a haunted house of my own. I actually had to bring Riley in on the deal because Mom wouldn't let me convert our first floor into a full haunted mansion. I knew Riley's dad wouldn't be crazy about the idea either because we decided to build the haunted house in his basement and not mention his parents. But me and Riley spent most of the day coming up with an awesome plan for this haunted house. Here's our final plan. I don't mean to brag or anything, but what we came up with was way better than the Crossland high school haunted house. We realized we were going to get the word out that we were doing this thing, so we got some paper and made a bunch of flyers. I'll admit that maybe we stretched the truth a little bit in our advertisement, but we had to make sure people actually showed up. By the time we finished putting flyers around the neighborhood in Riley's basement at 2:30, hadn't started putting the actual haunted house together yet, so we cut some corners on our original plan. When 3 o'clock rolled around, we looked outside to see if anyone showed up, and sure enough, there were about 20 neighborhood kids waiting outside the line in Riley's house. Now, I know our flyers admission was 50 cents, but I see that we had a chance to make a killing here. So I told that the admission was $2 and the 50-cent thing was a typo. First kid to call up the $2 was Shane Snella. He paid his money and blew him aside, and Riley took up possessions in the Hall of Screams. The Hall Screams was basically just a bed with me and Riley on either side of it. I guess maybe we made the Hall Screams a little too scary because halfway through Shane curled up in a ball underneath the bed. We tried to get him to crawl from there, but he wouldn't budge. I started thinking about all the money we were losing with this kid clogging up the Hall Screams. I knew we had to get him out of there quick. Eventually, Riley's dad came downstairs. At first, I was happy to see him because I thought he'd help us drag Shane from out underneath the bed and get our haunted house cranking again. But Riley's dad wasn't really in helpful mood. Riley's dad wanted to know what we were doing, and Shane Snell was curled up under the bed. We told him that the basement was a haunted house and that Shane Snell paid for us to do this to him, but Riley's dad didn't believe it. I admit that when you look at it, it didn't really look like a haunted house, but by the time we put together the Hall Screams, the lake of blood was just Riley's baby pool with half a bottle of ketchup in it. I'm trying to show Riley's dad our original plan to prove that we were really running a legitimate operation, but he still didn't seem convinced. And to make a long story short, that was the end of our haunted house. The good news is Riley's dad didn't believe us. He didn't make us front Shane's money, so at least we cleared $2 today. Riley ended up getting grounded for the whole haunted house mess yesterday. He's not allowed to watch TV for a week, and he's not allowed to have me over at his house during that time. The last part isn't really fair because that's punishing me. I didn't even do anything wrong, and now how am I supposed to play my video games? Anyway, I felt kind of bad for Riley, so tonight I made it up to him. I turned on one of Riley's favorite TV shows, and I did a play-by-play over the phone, so that way he could kind of experience it that way. I did my best to keep up with what was going on screen, but to be honest with you, I'm not sure if Riley's getting the full effect. Well, Riley's grounding's finally over, and just in time for Halloween too. I went up to his house to to check out his costume. And now after me, I'm a little jealous. Riley's mom got him this night costume that's way cooler than his costume from last year. The night after it came with the helmet and shield and real sword and everything. I never had a store-bought costume before, so that isn't really. So I haven't really figured out what I'm gonna do as tomorrow night. So I'm probably just gonna throw together something last minute. I figured maybe I'll bring my toilet paper with me again. But then it's supposed to rain tomorrow night, so that might not be the smartest choice. The past few years, grown-ups in my neighborhood have been getting really cranky about my lame costumes. I'm starting to think that it's actually having an effect on the amount of candy I'm bringing in. I don't really have time to put together a good costume because I'm in charge of planning to take out the route for rally night tomorrow night. And this year I've come up with a plan that'll get us at least twice the candy we scored last year. About an hour before we were supposed to start trick-or-treating, I didn't have a costume. At the point, I was seriously thinking about going as a cowboy for the second year in a row. Then Mom knocked on my door and handed me a pirate costume with an eye patch and hook and everything. Riley showed up around 6:30 in the morning in a night costume, but didn't look anything like he did yesterday. Riley's mom made a bunch of made all these safety improvements to it. He couldn't even see who he was supposed to be anymore. She cut a big hole in the front of the helmet so he could see better and covered him up in this reflective tape. So he made him wear his winter coat underneath everything and replaced his sword with a glow stick. I got my pillowcase and me and Riley started to head out, but Mom stopped us before we could get to the door. I wanted you to take me with you. Man, I should have known there was a catch to when Mom gave me that costume. I told Mom there's no way you're taking me just because you're going to hit 152 houses in 3 hours, plus you're going to be on Snake Road. It's way too dangerous for a little kid like Manny. I never should have mentioned that last part because the last thing Mom was telling Dad he had to go along with me to make sure that we didn't step foot outside our neighborhood. Dad tried to screw around with it, but when Mom makes up her mind, there's nothing he can do to change it. I don't know, 23, I better hurry. Before we even got out of our own driveway, we ran into our neighbor, Mr. Mitchell, and his kid, Jeremy. So, of course, they tag along with us. Manny and Jeremy didn't trick-or-treat at any houses with any decorations on them, so they rolled out pretty much all the houses on our block. Dad Mr. Mitchell started talking about football or something, and every one of them wanted to make a point they'd stop walking. So we were only hitting about one house every 20 minutes. After a couple hours, Dad and Mr. Mitchell took the kids home. I was glad because that meant me and Riley could take off. My pillowcase was almost empty. I wanted to make up as much time as possible. A little while later, Riley told me that he did a party break, but I told him to hold off for another 45 minutes. But by the time we got to my grandma's house, it was pretty clear that Jalen Riley's bathroom was getting messy. I told Riley if he wasn't back outside in 1 minute, I was gonna start helping myself to his candy. After that, we headed back out to the road, but it was already 10:30, and I guess that's when most grown-ups decide Halloween is over. You can kind of tell because that's when they start coming over to the door in pajamas, giving you the evil eye. We started head home. We made up a lot of a lot of time after Dad and Manny left. So I was pretty satisfied with how much candy we took home. We were halfway home. This pickup truck came rolling down the street with a bunch of high school kids in it. And the kid in the back was holding a fire extinguisher in the truck mess by he opened fire. I have to give Riley credit because he blocked about 95% of the water with the shield, and if we hadn't done that, all our candy would have gotten soaked. But when the truck drove away, I yelled something out that I regretted about 2 seconds later. We're calling cops. The driver slammed on the brakes and he turned his truck around. Riley started running, but those guys were on our heels. The only place I could think of that was safe was Grandma's house, so we cut through a couple of backyards together. Grandma's in bed already, but I knew she keeps the key under the mat in our front porch. Once we got inside, I looked out the window to see if those guys followed us, and sure enough, they did. I tried to talk them into leaving, but they wouldn't budge. After all, we realized the teenagers were going to wait us out. So we decided we were just going to have to spend the night at Grandma's. That's when they started getting cocky, making monkey noises at the teenagers and whatnot. Well, I guess I was making monkey noises. Riley kind of got owl noises, but I guess that's the general idea. I called Mom to tell her that we were going to crash Grandma's for the night, but Mom's not really mad on the phone. Look, she said it was going to be a school night, and then we had to get home this instant. So that meant we were going to have to make a run for it. I need a water break really quick. Come on, 1 o'clock. I looked out the window, but this time I didn't see the truck. I knew those guys were hiding somewhere to try and draw us out. So we snuck back to our hop over Grandma's fence and ran all the way to Snake Road. I figured our chances were better there because there weren't any streetlights. Snake Road was scary enough on its own, having chocolate teenagers hunting you down. Every time I saw a car coming, we dove into the bushes. It must have taken half of an hour to go 100 yards. But believe it or not, we made it all the way to home without getting caught. Neither one of us let down our guard until we were in the driveway. But right then, we heard this awful scream, and this big wave of water came towards us. But I forgot all about it, Dad, and we totally paid the price for it. When me and Riley got inside, we laid out all our candy on the kitchen table. The only things that we could salvage were a couple of mints that were wrapped in cellophane, and the toothbrushes that Mr. Garrison gave us, that Dr. Garrison gave us. I think the next holiday I'll just stay home and move some butterfinger from the butter from the bowl that Mom keeps on the refrigerator. On the bus ride to school today, we passed Grandma's house. It got rolled toilet paper last night, so I guess that was no big surprise. I do feel a little bad because it looked like it was going to take a long time to clean up, but on the bright side, Grandma was retired, so she probably didn't have anything planned for today anyway. In third period, Mr. Underwood, our phys ed teacher, announced that the boys will be doing a wrestling unit for the next 6 weeks. That's one thing that most boys are into at my school is professional wrestling, so Mr. Underwood might as well set off a bomb. Lunch comes right after phys ed, and the cafeteria is a complete madhouse. I don't know what the school's thinking having wrestling unit, but I decided if I don't want to get twisted into a pretzel for the next month and a half, I'd better do my homework on this wrestling business. So I rented a couple of video games to learn some moves, and after a while, I was starting to get the hang of it. Does it feel right? Yes, no help. In fact, all the other kids in my class better look out. If I keep this up, I could be a real threat. Then again, I better make sure I don't go too good. This kid named Preston Mudd got named Athlete of the Month for being the best player in his basketball unit, so they put his picture up in the hallway. It took people about 5 seconds to realize how P. Mudd sounded when he said it out loud, and after that, it was all over Preston. Well, I found out today the type of wrestling Mr. Underwood is teaching is completely different from later on TV. First of all, we had to wear this thing called singlets, which was like the business suits that they used in the 1800s. Second of all, there are no pile drivers or hitting people over the heads, chairs, or anything like that. There's not even a ring of ropes around it. They're basically sorting out that sounds like it's never been washed before. Mr. Underwood started asking for volunteers where he could demonstrate some wrestling holds, but there was no way I was going to raise my hand. Me and Riley tried to hide in the back of the gym near the curtain because that's where the girls were doing their gymnastics unit. We got out of there in a hurry and we went back to where the rest of the guys were. Mr. Underwood was singled me out probably because I'm the lightest kid in the class and he could toss me around without straining himself. He showed everyone how to do these things called a half Nelson reversal and a takedown and stuff like that. When he was doing this one move called the fireman scare, I felt a breeze down below and I could tell my singlet wasn't doing a good job keeping me covered up. That's when I think about lucky stars that the girls on the other side of the gym. Mr. Underwood Mr. Arnold would divide us up into three weight groups. I was pretty happy at first because I wasn't meant to have to. I wasn't gonna have to wrestle kids like Benny Wells who could bench press 250 pounds. When I did figure out how I had to wrestle, I would have trained for Benny Wells in a heartbeat. Greggy will be paired up with Fregley here. Fregley was the only kid light enough to be in my weight class. Apparently, Fregley was paying attention. Mr. Arnold was giving instructions because he pinned me in every single way he could imagine. I spent my seventh period getting way more familiar with Fregley than I ever wanted to be. This wrestling unit has totally turned our school upside down. Now kids are wrestling in the hallways and the classrooms, you name it. But the 15 minutes after lunch, where they let us aside, was the worst. You can't walk 5 feet without tripping over a couple of kids going at it. I try to get my distance, and mark my words, one of these fools is gonna roll right into the cheese and start the cheese touch all over again. My other problem is that I have to wrestle Fregley every single day. This morning I realized something. If I can move out of Fregley's weight class, I don't have to wrestle him anymore. So today I stuffed my clothes with a bunch of socks and shorts to try and get in the next weight class. But I was still too late to move up. I realized I was gonna have to gain weight for real. At first I thought I should start looking up at junk food, then I have a better idea. I decided to gain my weight in muscle, not fat. I've never been that interested in getting in shape before, but this wrestling thing has made me rethink things. I figure if I bulk up now, I can actually become handy down the road. This football, the football unit is coming up in spring, and they split the team into shirts and skins. And I always get put in skins. I think they do that to make all the out of shape kids feel ashamed of themselves. If I could pack on some muscle now, it'll be a whole different story next April. Tonight after dinner, Mom and Dad were together. I told them my plan. I told them I was going to get some serious. I was going to need some serious exercise equipment, some weight gain powder too. I showed them some muscle magazines, and I got at the weights. I got at the store, so they could see how ripped I was gonna be. Mom didn't really say anything at first, but Dad seemed pretty enthusiastic. I think he was just glad I changed hard from how I used to be when I was a kid. Mom said if I wanted to weights, I was gonna have to prove that I could stick with an exercise regimen. So that I was gonna have to do sit-ups and jumping jacks for 2 weeks. I had to just explain that the only way to get totally bulked up was to get the kind of high-tech machines that have the gym, but Mom didn't want to hear it. But then Dad said if I wanted to bench press, I should keep my fingers crossed for Christmas. But Christmas is a month and a half away, and I'm gonna get pinned by Franklin one more time. I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown. So it looks like Mom and Dad aren't gonna be any help. That means I'm gonna have to take matters in my own hands as usual. I couldn't wait to start my weight training program today. Even though Mom wouldn't let me get the equipment I needed, I wasn't gonna let that hold me back. So I went to the fridge and I emptied out some milk and orange juice and filled the jugs with sand. And I taped them to a broomstick, and I had myself a pretty decent barbell. After that, I made a bench press out of an ironing board and some boxes. Once I had that all set, I was ready to do some serious lifting. I needed a spotting partner, so I called Rowley. And he showed up to my door wearing some ridiculous getup, and I knew I made a mistake inviting him. What have I done? I made Rowley use the bench press first, mostly because I wanted to see if the broomstick was going to hold up. He did about 5 reps and was ready to quit, but I wouldn't let him. That's what a good training partner is for, to push you beyond your limits. I knew Riley wasn't going to be serious about weightlifting as I was, so I just tried to try out the equipment to test his dedication. In the middle, Riley said, I got this phony nose and mustache Roger has in a junk drawer. And then right when Riley had the barbell in the down position, I leaned over and looked at him. Sure enough, Riley totally lost his concentration. He couldn't even get the barbell off his chest. I thought about helping him out, but I realized if Riley didn't get serious about working out, he's never going to get to my level. Eventually, I did have to rescue him because he started biting the milk jug to let the sand leak out. After Riley got off the bench press, it was time for my set, but Riley said he didn't feel like working out anymore, and he went home. I figured he'd pull something like that, but I guess you can't expect everyone to have the same kind of dedication as you. Today in geography we had a quiz, and I have to say I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. The quiz is on state capitals. I sit in the back of the room right next to this giant map of the United States. All the capitals are written in big red print, so I had this one in the back. But right before the test got started, Patty Farrell piped up from the front of the room. Patty told Mr. Ear that he should cover up the United States map before we got started. So I think that Patty and I ended up flunking the quiz, and I will definitely be looking for a way to pay her back from that one. Tonight, Mom came to my room, and she had a flyer in hand. As soon as I saw it, I knew exactly what it was. And it was an announcement that the school's having tryouts for a winter play, and man, I should have thrown that thing away as soon as I saw it on the kitchen table. I begged her not to make me sign up. Those school plays are always musicals, and the last thing I need is to have to sing a solo in front of the whole school. But all the beggings seemed to make my mom more sure that I should do it. Mom said the only way I was going to be well ran was trying different things. Dad came around to see what was going on. I told Dad I was making sign for the school play. I had to start before practice. It was going to totally mess up my weightlifting schedule. I knew that I'd take my to my side. Dad argued for a few minutes, but Dad was no match for Mom. So that means tomorrow I'm going to the audition for the school play. The play they're doing this year is called Wizard of Oz. A lot of kids came in costumes for the parts they're trying out for. I've never seen the movie, so to me it was like walking in a freak show. Mrs. Norton, the music director, made everyone sing "My Country 'Tis of Thee," so that way we hear our singing voices. I did my singing tryouts with a bunch of other boys whose moms made them come too, but I decided to sing as quietly as possible. But of course, I got singing loud anyways. I had no idea what a soprano is, but from the way some of the girls were getting, I knew it wasn't a good thing. Tryouts were going on forever. They finally came when auditions with Dorothy, so I guess this is the lead character to play. And who should try out first but Patty Farrell? I thought about trying for the part of the witch when I heard that in the play. The witch does all sorts of mean things to Dory. When somebody told her there's a good witch and a bad witch, with my luck, I ended up getting picked to be the good one. I was hoping Mrs. Norton would just cut me for the play. She said that everyone who tried out was going to get a part, so lucky me. Mrs. Norton showed the Wizard of Oz movie. Everyone who knew the story. But I was trying to figure out who was the latest character to sing along the ends. So about halfway through the movie, I figured the part I was decided for. I'm going to sign up to be a tree because they don't have to sing and they get to beat Dorothy with apples. Getting a peg with apples and run live on to get my dream picture over. After the movie ended, I signed up for a tree. Unfortunately, a bunch of other guys had the same idea, so I guess there were a lot of guys who had a bone to pick with Patty Farrell. Well, like Mama said, be careful what you wish for. I got picked to be a tree, but I don't know if that's a good thing. The tree costumes don't actually have armholes, so I guess that was like apple throwing. I started feeling lucky that I got speaking part at all. They had too many kids trying out, not enough roles, so they had to start with made-up characters. Ronnie James came out to be the Tin Man, but he got stuck with being a shrub. Remember how I said I was lucky to get speaking part? Well, then I found out that I only have one line in the whole play. That's when Dorothy picks an apple off a branch. That means I have to go to a 2-hour practice every day just so I can say one word. And I'm starting to think that Ronnie James has a better deal as a shrub. He found a way to sneak video games into his costume, and I bet that really makes the time go by. So now I'm trying to think of ways Mrs. Norton to kick me out of the school play. But when you mess up only one line. But when you never mind, I'll skip that part. I can't. I'm forgetting how to speak. The play's only a couple of days away, and I have no idea how we're gonna pull this thing off. First of all, nobody bothered to learn the lines, and that's all Mrs. Norton faults. During the rehearsal, Mrs. Norton whispers everyone's lines to them from the side of the stage. I wonder how it's gonna go next Tuesday when Mrs. Norton is sitting at her piano 30 feet away. Another thing that's messing everything up is Mrs. Norton keeps adding new scenes and new characters. Yesterday, she brought her first grader to play Dorothy's dog Toto, but today the kid's mom came saying that she wanted her child to walk around 2 legs because crawling around on all 4s would be too degrading. Now that we got a dog, so he's going to walk around on his hind legs for the whole show, but the worst part is that Mrs. Norton actually wrote a song that the trees have to sing, and she says everyone deserves a chance to sing in the play. So today we spent an hour learning the worst song that's ever been written. Thank God Roderick will be in the audience see me humiliate myself. Norton says the play is going to be a semi-formal occasion. I know that there's no way Roderick is going to wear a tie for the middle school play, but it wasn't all bad. Towards the end of practice, Archie Kelly tripped over Ronnie James and chipped his tooth, so he couldn't stick his arms out to break his fall. The good news is they're letting us trees carve armholes out for the performance. Tonight was the big school production of The Wizard of Oz. The first sign that things were not going to go well was the play before it even started. I was peeking through the curtain to check out how many people showed up to see the play, and guess who was standing right up in front? My brother Roger wearing a clip-on tie. Come on. must find out I was singing, and he couldn't resist a chance to see me embarrass myself. The play was supposed to start at 8 o'clock, but it got delayed because Ryan James had stage fright. You'd figure someone's job was to sit on stage or nothing, suck it up for one performance, so Rodney wouldn't budge. Eventually, his mom had to carry him off. The play came around at 8:30, and no one could remember the lines. It was like I predicted. Mrs. Norton kept things moving along with her piano. This is a nightmare. The kid who played Toto brought a stool and a pile of comic books inside the stage, and I totally ruined the whole dog effect. When it was time for the scene, my other trees took a position as the curtains, and I heard Manny's voice, "Bubby." Great, I had been able to keep this whole thing quiet for 5 years, and all of a sudden, this whole part of the time, knew it. I was able about 300 pairs of eyeballs pointing my way. So this is putting I was able to deflect the embarrassment to Archie Kelly. But the major embarrassment was still on the way. I heard Miss Norton playing the first few bars of We the Trees. I felt my stomach jump. I looked out at the audience and I noticed Roger was holding a video camera. I knew if I sang the Roger recorded, he would keep the tape forever and humiliate me for the rest of my life. So I started singing. I kept my mouth shut. For a few seconds, everything went okay, and I figured that I technically didn't sing the song. Roger wouldn't have anything to hold in my head. After a few seconds, I noticed the other trees noticed I wasn't singing. I guess they must have thought I know something they didn't, so they stopped singing too. Now the three of us were staying there, not saying a word, and thought that the words were sung because she came over to the side of the stage and whispered the rest of the lyrics to us. The song is about 3 minutes long, and to me it felt like an hour and a half. I was just praying that the curtains would go down so that way we could hop off the stage. Thus I know Patty Farrell standing on the wings, and if the looks could kill us trees, she probably would be. She probably thought we were really interested in the game of making it Broadway or something. Seeing Patty stand there reminded me of why I signed up for this play in the first place. Pretty soon the trees started throwing apples too, and I think even Toto got out of the act. Somebody knocked off a glass of Patty's head, and the lens broke. And Miss Norton had shut down the play after that because Patty can't see too far in her face without her glasses. After play was over, my family went home together, and my mom had a bouquet of flowers. And I think they were supposed to be me, but she ended up tossing them in a trash can on the way out the door. I just hope that everyone who came to see the play was entertained as I was. Well, one good thing came out of the play. I don't have to worry about the Bubby nickname anymore. I saw Archie Kelly getting harassed in the hallway after 5th period today, so I guess I could start to breathe a little easier. With all the stuff going around school, I haven't had time to think about Christmas, and it's less than 10 days away. In fact, the only thing that tipped me off Christmas was Roger putting his wish list up on the refrigerator. Usually I make a big wish list every year, but this Christmas I really want this video game called Twisted Wizard. Tonight, Manny was going through the Christmas catalog, picking out all the stuff he wants with the big red marker. Manny was circling every single toy in the catalog. He was even circling really fancy stuff like a giant motorized car and stuff like that. So I decided to step in and give him good big brotherly advice. I told him that if he circled stuff that was too expensive, he was going to end up with a bunch of clothes for Christmas. I told him that he should pick out 3 or 4 medium price gifts so he'd have a couple of things he actually wanted. But of course, Manny went back circling everything, so I guess he just learned the hard way. When I was 7, the only thing I really wanted for Christmas was a Barbie dream house, and not because I like girls' toys like Roger said. That would be a really awesome fort for flying toy soldiers. My mom and dad saw my wish list that year. They got in a big fight over it. Dad said there's no way he was getting me a dollhouse, but Mom said it would be healthy for me to experiment with whatever kind of toys I want to play with. Believe it or not, Dad actually won that argument and told me to start my wish list over and pick some other toys that were more appropriate for boys. I have a secret weapon that comes to Christmas. My Uncle Charlie gets me whatever I want. I told him that I wanted the Barbie tree house, and he said he'd hook me up. On Christmas, when Uncle Charlie gave me a gift, it was not what I asked for. He must have walked in the store and picked up the first thing he saw that said Barbie on it. So here's a picture of me holding a beach fun Barbie. I guess at least you know the whole story. Dad wasn't really happy with me when he saw the Uncle Charlie, so he told me he gave away or throw out giveaway charity. I kept it anyway, and okay, I admit that I took it out and played with it once or twice. That's how I ended up getting the emergency room 2 weeks later with pink Barbie. She was stuck on my nose. And believe me, that Roger has never heard the end of that. Tonight, my mom went to get a gift for Giving Tree Church. The Giving Tree is basically a Secret Santa type of thing where you get a gift for anyone who's near. Mom picked out a Red Bull sweater for the Giving Tree guy. I tried to talk on getting something like cool like TV or slushie machine or something like that. Because imagine if all I got Christmas was wool sweater. I'm sure our Giving Tree guy will throw out his sweater in the trash along with the other 10 cans of yams that we sent his way during the Thanksgiving food drive. When I got up this morning and went downstairs, there were a million gifts under the Christmas tree. When I started digging around, there were hardly any gifts with my name on them. But Manny, but but Manny made out like a bandit. He had every single thing that he circled in the catalog. No lie. So I bet he did. He'll be glad he didn't listen to me. So I did this thing with my name. So I did find a couple things with my name on them, but they're mostly books and stuff like that. So I opened my gifts in the corner behind the couch. And I didn't like opening gifts near Dad. Whenever he opens a gift, he swoops right and cleans the path for them. I gave Manny a toy helicopter and Roger a book about rock pets. Roger gave me a book too, but of course he didn't wrap it. The book was the best of Little Cutie. Little Cutie was the worst comic in the newspaper. Roderick knows how much I hate it. I think this is the fourth year I've gotten a Little Cutie book from her now. I gave Mom and Dad the gifts, and they said and the same thing every year. But parents eat that stuff up. I think I'm starting to lose my mind a little. The rest of the relatives ended up showing up around 11, and Uncle Charlie came soon. Came at noon. Uncle Charlie had a big trash bag full of gifts, and he put my present at the top of the bag. The package was the exact same size and shape as the Twisted Wars game. I knew Uncle Charlie came through for me. Mom, get the camera ready. I tore up my gift. But it was just a 8x10 picture of Uncle Charlie. I guess I didn't do a good job hiding disappointment, and Mom got all mad. I said I'm glad I'm still a kid, though, because I had to act happy about the gifts the grown-ups get. I don't think I could pull it off. I went to my room to take a break for a while. A couple minutes later, Dad knocked on my door. He told me he had a gift for me out in the garage, and the reason it was there because it was too big to wrap. And when I walked out the garage, there was a brand new weight set. That thing must have cost a fortune. When I didn't have the heart to let that I lost weight and the whole weightlifting thing when wrestling United last week. So I guess I just said thanks, Dad. I guess Dad started expecting me to start doing some reps or something. But I just excused myself and went backside. Around 6, the world just cleared out. I was sitting on the couch watching Manny play with his toys, feeling kind of sorry for myself. And the mom came up behind me and said she found a gift behind the piano with an arrow, and it said, "From Santa." The box was way too big for Twisted Wizard, but Mom with the big box truck me last year when she got a memory card for my video game system. So I ripped open the package and pulled out my present. Only one was Twisted Wizard. It was a giant wolf sweater. I first thought Mom was playing a game of the practical, was playing some practical drum me because the sweater was the same kind we bought for her giving tree. My mom did seem pretty confused. She said that she did have a video game and that she had no idea the sweater was doing in my box. Then I figured out Mom. I told Mom that she must have gotten some kind of mix up in the giving tree as a gift, and he got mine. And then, oh boy, I'm losing my mind. My voice is gonna be so gone after this. Nonetheless, she used the same kind of wrapping paper for both gifts, so I guess she must have got the wrong names attacked. But my mom said that was a really good thing because the giving tree, I must be happy he got such a great gift. I had to explain that in order to need a video game system, you need a TV to play Twisted Words, so that gift is totally useless to him. Even though my Christmas is not going to be great, I'm sure that it was a whole lot worse with the Giving Tree guy. I kind of decided to throw in the towel for this Christmas, and I head up to Riley's house. I forgot to get a gift for Riley, so I just slapped a bow on the little key book and that Roger gave me. The same to the trick. Riley's parents have a lot of money, so I gotta count on them for a good gift. Riley said that this year he picked out my gift himself. Then he brought me outside to show me what it was. From when Riley was hyping I was present, I thought I must have getting me a big screen TV or a motorcycle or something. But once again, I got my hopes high. Riley had a big wheel. I guess I thought it was a cool gift when I was in 3rd grade, but I have no idea what I'm supposed to do this now. Riley was so enthusiastic about it. I tried to pretend I was happy, and we went back inside, and Riley showed me his Christmas. I forgot what that said, but I'm scrolling too quick. He sure got a lot more stuff than I did. He even got Twisted Words so at least I could play it in his house. That was until Riley Dad figures out how violent it is, and boy, you never see someone as happy as Riley with his little cutie book. Mom said that it was the only thing on his list they didn't get. Mom got someone got what they wanted today. In case you're wondering, I'm doing my room at 9 p.m. New Year's Eve. Let me fill you in. Earlier today, me and Manny were horsing around in the basement, and I found a tiny black ball thrown on the carpet. I told Manny it was fire. Then I held over and pretending like I was gonna make him eat it. Right then, I was about to let him go. He slid to my hand and made me drop the throat. And guess what? He swallowed it. Well, Manny completely lost his mind. He went upstairs, and my mom was. I knew I was in big trouble. Manny told him that I made me a spider, and I told him there was no spider, and I was just tiny about there. Mom went right over to the kitchen table as she put a seed raisin and a grape on a plate and told Manny to point at the thing that was the closest size to the piece of the throat that he swallowed. May took a while to look over things to play. Then he looked over the refrigerator and pulled out an orange. So that's why I got sent to bed at 7. I'm not downstairs watching New Year's Eve special on TV. And that's why I'm the only New Year's resolution is never play with Manny again. I found a way to have some fun with the big wheel Riley got me for Christmas. I came up to him with this game where one guy rides down the hill, and the other guy tries to knock him off with the ball. Riley was the first one on the hill, and I was the thrower. It's a lot harder to hit a moving target then, but I thought I didn't get a lot of practice. It took up Riley like 10 minutes to walk the big wheel up back the hill after every trip down. Riley kept asking to switch places to have me be the one who rides the big wheel, but I'm not a fool. That thing was hitting 35 miles an hour and didn't have any brakes. Anyway, I never did knock Riley off the big wheel today. I guess I must have something to work out over Christmas vacation. I was heading up to Riley's house today, play our big wheel game. Mom said I had to finish my Christmas thank yous before I went out anywhere. I thought I could just crank out my thank you cards in half an hour, but when it actually came to running them, my mind went blank. Let me tell you, it's not easy writing thank you notes for stuff you didn't want in the first place. I started with the non-cold designs because I thought they'd be easiest, but after 2 or 3 cards, I realized I was practically writing the same thing every time. So I wrote a general form on the computer with blanks that needed to change. Writing from there's a breeze. Well, there goes 15 minutes of my life. I finally knocked Riley off a big wheel today, but it didn't happen the way I expected. I was trying to hit him in the shoulder, but I missed, and the football went on the front tire. Riley tried to break his ball by sticking out his arms, but he landed pretty hard on his left hand. I figured to shake it off and get back on the bike, but I tried to cheer him up all the jokes that usually cracking up were working. So I knew it must be hurt pretty bad. Christmas vacation was over, and I went back to school. I remember Riley's baby relaxed, and Molly broke his hand and has 4 casts. Everyone was crying around him like he was here or something. I tried to catch on some of Riley's new popularity, but it totally backfired. At lunch, a bunch of girls invited Riley over to the tables, and they could feed him. What really takes me off about Riley is that Riley's left hand was right-handed, and it was the left hand that was broken, so he can feed himself just fine. I realized that Riley's injury was a pretty good bracket, so I decided it was the first time for me to have an injury on my own. I took some gauze from home and I wrapped up my hand to make sure to look like it was hurt. I couldn't figure out why the girls weren't swarming me like swarming Riley, but then I realized the problem was. See, the cast is a great game because everyone's put their name on it, but it's not exactly easy with gauze and a pen. So I came up with a solution I thought was just a good idea. The idea was a total bust too. My managed to end up attracting attention from a couple of people who believe me, they're not the type of people I was going for. Last week we started the 3rd quarter of school and I have a bunch of new classes. One of the classes I signed up for was something called Independence Day. I wanted to sign up for the home economics too, but I was pretty good at home economics one. But the sewing was not exactly what buys you popular at school. Anyways, the Independence Day thing is the kind of experiment trying out for school, ranked for the first time. The idea is that classes get assigned a project and they have to work on it together with no teacher in the room for a whole quarter. This catches up when you're done and the whole group gets the same grade. I found out that Ricky Fisher in my class, and that would be a big problem. Ricky's claiming famous that he'll pick the on the bottom desk and chew it if you pay him 50 cents. So I don't really have high hopes for the final grade. He finally got our Independence Day, so I mean, guess what it is? We have to build a robot. Everyone kind of freaked out because we thought that we were going to have to build a robot from scratch. Mr. Darnell said we wouldn't have to build an actual robot. We just need to come up with ideas for a robot that might look like and what kind of things we'd be able to do. Then he left the room and we were on our own. We started a bunch of brainstorming right away. I wrote down a bunch of ideas on the blackboard. Everyone was pretty impressed by ideas, but it was easy to come up with them. All I did was write down all the things I hate doing myself. But a couple of girls got up from the room and they had some ideas of them. They erased my list and put their own plan. One found a robot that would give you dating advice and have 10 types of lip gloss on its fingertips. All these guys thought it was the dumbest idea I've ever heard. So we ended up splitting into 2 groups, the girls and the boys. The boys went to the other side of the room and the girls stood around talking. Now that we have serious workers in one place, we got to work. Someone had the idea that you could say your name to the robot and it could say it back to you. But then someone pointed out they shouldn't be able to use bad words for your name because the robot shouldn't be able to curse. So we decided to come up with a list of all the bad words the robot shouldn't be able to say. When we came up with the regular bad words, but Ricky Fisher came up with 20 more the rest of us had never heard before. So Ricky ended up being one of the most valuable contributors to the whole project. Right before the bell rang, Mr. Arnold came into the room to check our progress. He picked up a piece of paper that we were writing on and read it over. To make a long story short, Independence Day is canceled for this year. Well, at least this first place, the robots of the future are going to be going on cherry lips, lots of fingers. So I guess you know how it all got started. In school today, I got in General Assembly and it's and show the movie. It's great to me, which is the show over here. The movie is about how you should be happy with who you are and not change anything about yourself. To be honest, yeah, I think it was really that message to be telling kids, especially when in school. Later on, they announcement that there are going to be safety patrols, and I got me thinking, if someone picks a safety patrol, I can get them spending in that way. Figure I get the extra protection I can get. This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Plus, I realized that maybe being in a position of authority can be good for me. I went down to Mr. Winsky's office and signed myself up. I got Riley signed up too, but a bunch of chin-ups or jumping jacks or something to prove that we were up for the job. But he just handed our belts and badges and we got on the spot. Mr. Winky said the openings were a special assignment. Our school is right next to the elementary school and they got half a day kindergarten there. He wants to walk in the morning session, gets home, middle day. I'm in the room. We missed 25 minutes of pre-algebra. Riley must figure that out too because he started to speak up, but I gave him a wicked pinch underneath the desk before he finished something. I wouldn't believe my luck. Getting bullet protection in half of pre-algebra. I didn't have to lift a finger. My voice is starting to go. Today was our first safe patrols. Me and Riley technically don't have stations like all other patrols. So that means we don't have to stand around in the freezing cold hour an hour before school. But that didn't stop us from coming to the cafeteria with have free hot chocolate for the safety patrols before them. Another great perk is they get to show up 10 minutes late for first period. I'm telling you, I've got it made with the safe patrol thing. At 12:15, me and Riley left school and walked to kindergarten. The whole trip ate up 45 minutes, and we were 20 minutes pre-algebra. There were only 20 minutes pre-algebra when we got back. A lot of kids almost no sweat, but one of the kindergarten started to smell a little funny. I think he had an accident in his pants. He tried to let you know that, but I stared straight ahead and kept walking. I think he's home, but I didn't sign him delivered. Today's snowed for the first time this winter and school was canceled. We were supposed to have a test in pre-algebra, but I kind of slacked off, so then became a station patrol operator, and I was like, I called Riley, told him to come over. Me and him have this thing about building the biggest snowman for the past couple of years now. And when I say it was the biggest snowman, I'm not kidding. We were planning again in the Guinness Book of World Records. Every time we got serious about going for the record, the snow melted, and we missed our window of opportunity. So this year, I wanted to get started right away. Riley came over, she started rolling the first snowball to make the base, and I figured the base was going to have to be at least 8 feet tall on its own for a shot breaking the record. With the snowball got real heavy, and we had to take a bunch of breaks in between so we catch our breath. During one of the breaks, Mom came outside to go to the grocery store, but the snowball was blocking our car, so we got a little free to labor after our break. Me and Riley pushed that snowball until we couldn't push it any further, and we looked behind us. We saw the mess we made. The snowball got so heavy that I just tore up all the salt that I had laid down as well. I was hoping a snow few inches to cover the tracks, but just like that, it stopped snowing. Our plan to get the world's biggest snowman started to fall apart, and I came up with a better idea for a snowball. Every time those kids from Worley Street either slow or hill for sledding, even though this isn't their neighborhood. So tomorrow morning, when the Worley Street kids came marching up the hill, me and Riley are gonna teach those guys a lesson. When I woke up this morning, the snow was already starting to melt. I told Riley hurry up and get down to my house. When I was waiting for the Riley to show up, I watched Manny trying to build a snowman out of the crumbs of snow that were left over from the snowball. It was actually kind of pathetic. I didn't really help noticing my next dad was at the window. And I was already mad at me for trying to outside, so I knew I was in for it. I heard the door open. I saw Dad coming outside. He marched right out carrying a snow shovel. I thought I was gonna have me come over it. But Dad was heading for a snowball, not me. And I'll say that he reduced all our hard work to nothing. Riley came by a few minutes later. I thought he might actually get a kick out what happened. I guess he has heart set. I'm really a snowball down the hill. And he was really mad. Because Riley's mad at me for what I did. I told Riley he was being a big baby and we got a shoving match. Right, look like we were about to get an all-out fight. We got ambushed from the street. It was a hit and run by the Worley Street kids. And If Mrs. Levine, our English teacher, was there, I'm sure she would have called the whole situation ironic. Today's school announced there was nothing from the cartoons dropped the paper. There was only one spot until now. This kid named Brian Little has been hanging all into himself. Okay, I'm almost there. Brian has a comic called Wacky Dog, and when it started off, it was actually pretty funny. But lately, Brian's been been using his strip to handle personal business, and I guess that's why they gave him the axe. So as soon as I heard the news, I knew I had to try out Wacky Dog. I made Brian a little celebrity to school. I started together the ad. My dad tried his picture. Mama Rogers hid him in the magazines, but no one ever found it. The kid made Chris Carney who smokes cigarettes a day. We really decided to team up and do a cartoon together. So after school, he came over to my house and we got to work. We banged out a bunch of characters real quick and it turned out to be easy part. We had to think of some jokes and we hit them all. I finally came up with a good solution. This is a lot more difficult. My voice is almost gone. I came up with a cartoon where the punchline of each strip is Zooey Mama. That way we won't get back down with having to write actual jokes. We can just concentrate on pictures. The first couple of trips, I did the writing and the characters. Riley drew the boxes around the pictures. Riley started complaining that he didn't have enough to do, so I let him write a few strips. But to be honest with you, it was a pretty obvious drop in quality once Riley started doing the writing. Eventually, I got sick of the Zooey Mama idea, and I pretty much let Riley take over the whole operation. Believe it or not, Riley's drawing skills are worse than his writing skills. I told Riley that maybe we should come up with something new and just want to keep making Zooey Mamas. And then he packed up his comics and went home, and that was fine by me. I don't really want to be part of the kid who doesn't draw noses anyway. After Riley left yesterday, I really got to work on some comics. I came up with this character called Craigton the Cretin, and I got a role. I must have banged out 20 strips and I didn't even break a sweat. That was a great thing because that was a great thing about the Craig the Creating comics is that well, all the idiots running around the school, I will never run out of new material. When I got to school, I took my comics to Mr. Er's office. He's the teacher who runs the school newspaper. When I went to my strips and I saw there was a pile of comics from other kids that are trying out for the job. Most of them were pretty bad, so I wasn't too worried about the competition. One of the comments was named Bone Teachers, and it was written by this kid named Bill Tritt. Bill is always intentional, so I guess he has a bone to pick with just about every teacher in school, including Mr. Era. So I'm not too worried about the chances of Bill's comic getting in either. So there's actually one or two decent comics in the bin. I slipped them under a pile of paperwork on Mr. Era's desk. Hopefully those ones won't turn up until I'm in high school. Today during the morning announcements I got in the news I was hoping for. The new cartoon was Greg Heffley. The newspaper came out at the time and everyone was ready. I really want to pick up a copy, I decided to play it cool for a while. I sat up at the end of the lunch table and there probably remember me started signing autographs from many fans, but no one was ever coming to tell me how great my comic was, and I started feeling something was wrong. I grabbed a paper and went to the bathroom to check it out. When I saw a comic, I practically had a heart attack. Mr. told me he made some minor edits to my comic. I just thought it meant he made spelling mistakes. They totally butchered it. The comic that he ruined was my favorite ones, and two. In the original, Craig the Creator was taking a math test, and he accidentally eats it, and the teacher yells at him for being. By the time Mr. Era was done with that, you practically couldn't recognize it as the same strip. So I'm pretty sure I won't be getting any autographs anytime soon. Me and Riley were enjoying hot chocolate in the cafeteria and the rest of the patrols today when there was an announcement on the loudspeaker. Riley Jefferson reported to Mr. Winsky's office immediately. Riley went down to Mr. Winsky's office, and when Riley came back 15 minutes later, he looked pretty shaken up. Apparently, Mr. Winsky got a call from the parent saying that he was terrorizing kindergarten as opposed to walking home from school, and Mr. Winsky got really mad about it. Riley said Mr. Winsky yelled at him for about 10 minutes about how he disrespected the badge. You know, I might be thinking about this last week. Riley had to take a fourth period, so walk kindergarten so long ago. It was only really in that morning, so a lot of ones I walked outside and had some fun with kids. Some later, Lay saw what I was doing, and she yelled at me from front porch. It was Mr. Irvine, who was friends with Riley's mom. She must have thought I was Riley because I was borrowing his coat and wasn't about to correct her either. I forgot the whole incident until today. Mr. Riley, tomorrow on patrols for a week. I knew I should have probably just told the kids Mr. Whiskey about the kids' worms, but being at dinner tonight, Mom told me something bothered me. I told her it was a tough situation. I didn't know what to do. Well, I gave credit for how she handled it, and the choice is the right thing. Who we are. I figured this is pretty decent advice, but I'm not 100% what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I was woken up, tossing, turning out of the situation. I finally made up my mind. I decided to start reading the thing. I was around. I'm losing it. Now I have lost it. Okay, gotta keep going. Well, I was up all night tossing and turning over the wrong situation. My family made my decided the right thing to do was to let Riley take one between the camera. By the time the school came, Riley told the truth about what happened and chased the kids with worms. I told him that there must be growth alone. I learned to be more careful about what I do for Mr. Irvin's house, and he learned that I will listen to. Be careful about who you let in if I do. To be honest, my message didn't seem getting through Riley. We're supposed to hang out after school, but he said he was just gonna go home and take a nap. I couldn't really blame him because if I didn't have a hot chocolate in the morning, I wouldn't have much energy either. When I got home, Mom was waiting for me at the door. She took me out to get ice cream at Special Treat, and the whole episode taught me is that every once in a while it's not such a bad thing to listen to your mother. There's nothing else but the loudspeaker today. And to be honest with you, I kind of figured this whole thing was coming. I knew it was a matter of time before I got busted for what happened last week. I got Mr. Winsky's office and he was really mad. Mr. Winsky told that an honest person had informed me that I was a real culprit in the worm chasing incident. He told me that I was leading my safe patrol duties effective immediately. Well, it doesn't take a detective to figure out that honest source of Riley. I can't believe Riley backstabbed me like that. I was sitting there getting shot up when I was thinking about giving my friend a lecture on loyalty. Later on today, Riley actually got a promotion under false suspicion. So either my friend. So I thought about really letting Riley have it. Then I realized something. In June, all the safety patrols go on a trip to Six Flags, and they get to take along one friend. So I gotta make sure Riley knows I'm in Sky. Like I said before, the worst part of getting kicked off safety patrols is losing hot chocolate privileges. Every morning I got to the door to cafeteria. Riley came to hook me up, but either my friend is a Noslemana, in fact, sold me out. Even though Riley had been a total jerk lately, I decided to break the ice with him today. Even that doesn't even work. Ever since the war message, Riley has been hanging out with Colin Lee every day after school. What really stinks is that Colin's supposed to be my backup friend. Those guys were actually ridiculous. Today, Riley and Colin were making matching shirts, and that made me just about all that. After dinner today, I saw Riley and Colin walking up the hill tomorrow, trimming it up. Colin had an overnight bag, so I knew they were going to sleep over at Riley's. I thought, well, she could play that game, so I went back at Riley to get a new best friend of mine. Unfortunately, the person that came to mind right at the moment was Fregley. I went up to Fregley's overnight bag, and Riley could see I had other friends' options too. When I went there, Fregley was in his front yard stabbing a kite with a stick. That's when I started to think maybe this wasn't the best idea after all. But Riley was in his front yard, so he was watching me, and I knew there was no turning back. I ran myself to Fregley's house, and he's going to play me. Me and Fregley went upstairs to his room. I've played Toaster in his room, so I stayed 10 feet away from him at all times. I decided that I should pull the plug on this idea and go home. But every time I locked the window, I looked out the window, Riley and Colin were still in Riley's front yard. I didn't want to leave until those guys were back inside, but it started things to get out of hand and Fregley pretty quickly. When I was looking out the window, Fregley broke in my backpack and ate the whole bag of jelly beans I got there. Fregley's one because not supposed to eat sugar, and 2 minutes later he was bouncing off the walls. Fregley started acting like a total maniac, and he chased me around the house upstairs. I kept thinking he was gonna come down off his sugar high, but he didn't. Eventually, I locked myself out of his bathroom to wait him out. Around 11:30, I got quiet in the hallway, and that's when Fregley slipped a piece of paper on the door. I picked it up right. Dear, I'm not going to read the letters too long. Me and Riley have officially been ex-friends for about a month now, and to be honest, I'm better off without him. I'm glad I could just do whatever without having to worry about all that dead weight around. Lately, I've been hanging out in Roger's room after school, and I've been going through his stuff the other day, and I found one of his middle school yearbooks. Roger wrote everybody's picture of the yearbook, and he could tell how I feel about all the kids in the grade. Every year, while the classmates around town, I have to thank Roger for making church a lot more interesting. But the class, Roger yearbook, that's really interesting. The class favorite stage. That's a picture of the kids that got voted most popular, most talented, and all that. Roger, Roger was class favorites page two. Class favorites thing has really got my gears turning. If you get yourself voted in class favorites page, you're basically immortal. Even if you don't live up to what you pick for, it doesn't really matter because it's on permanent record. People treat Bill Watson like it's something special, even though he ended up dropping out of high school. We still run into him at the food barn every once in a while. So here's what I'm thinking. The school year has been kind of a bust, but I can vote over favorite class. So I've been thinking category I have shot at most popular, most athletic, or definitely not. I'm definitely gonna have to find something that's a bit more in reach. So at first I thought maybe I could wear some nice clothes for the rest of the year and I could best dress. But I mean I have to get my picture taken with Jen Stewart and she dresses like a pilgrim. So I guess lying in bed hit me. I should go for class scout. It's not easy to be made funny. It's not easy being real funny in school or anything. But I could pull off on my prank before voting. I could get it. I'm losing my mind. Yeah, this is how I lose my mind. I can't believe there are so many more books to do. Today I was trying to figure out. I was going to hide a sneak thumbtack in Mr. Worth's chair in history. It said something. I didn't think of plan. Mr. Worth was he had a dentist appointment tomorrow. And he's going to have a substitute. Something like comedy gold. You can say anything you want and you won't get in trouble. Friday I walked in history class and yesterday ready to execute my plan. But when I got to class, who guesses the substitute teacher was? I guess all the people wanted to be a substitute. It was mom. I thought mom days getting involved in my school. Or she used to be one of those parents that came to help in the classroom, but that all changed after mom volunteered to be chaperone on a field trip Zoom third grade. Mom, I appreciate all the source material, help us kids appreciate even exhibits when playing class, a little landslide. Oh boy, I'm losing my voice. The school paper came out today. I quit my job as a school card. It was the correct and curious student came out. I really didn't care about who they picked to replace me. But when everyone started laughing in the comics page at lunch, I picked up a copy to see it was so funny when I couldn't believe math. It was even of course Mr. Airy didn't change a single word of Riley's strip. Now Riley's getting all the fame that's supposed to be mine. Even teachers or history class, chalk. The Zooey Mama thing has really got me worked up. Riley's getting all the credit for a comic that we came up with together. I heard the least he could do is put my name on the strip as co-creator. So I went to Riley after school and told him that this is what he's going to have to do. But he said that Zooey Mama was his idea and they didn't have anything to do with it. I guess we've been talking pretty loud because the next thing you know, we attracted a crowd. The kids at my school are always itching to see a fight, but me and Riley tried to walk away. Those guys weren't going to let us go until they saw some punches. I'd never been to a fight before, so I didn't know how I was supposed to stand or hold my fist or anything. You could tell Riley didn't know what he was doing either because he just started prancing around like a leprechaun. But after I could take Riley in a fight, I was pretty sure I could take Riley in a fight. The thing that made me nervous was that Riley takes karate. I don't know what kind of hocus pocus they teach in Riley's karate class. But the last thing I needed was for him to lay me out there on the blacktop. Before Riley made a move, there was a screeching sound in the parking lot. A bunch of teenagers had stopped the pickup truck and started piling. I was happy that everyone's attention was the teenagers standing me and Riley, but all the other kids took off when the teenagers started heading our way. Then I realized the teenagers look off familiar. That's when it hit me. It was the same teenagers who chased me and Riley around Halloween night, and they finally caught up with us. But we weren't making a run for it. We had our arms pinned behind our backs. Those guys wanted to teach us a lesson for taunting them on Halloween night, and they started to argue what they should do with us. But to be honest with you, I was more concerned about something else. Cheese was only a few feet away from me and standing blacktop and was looking nastier than ever. A big teenager must have caught my eye, because the next thing I knew, he was looking at the cheese too, and I guess I gave him the idea for what he was looking for. Riley was taking off first. The big kid grabbed Riley and dragged him to the cheese. Now, I don't know exactly what happened, because if Riley ever tries to run for president and someone finds out what these guys made him do, he won't have a chance. So I'll put it to you this way. They made Riley blank the cheese. So they were gonna make me do it too, so I started to panic because I didn't know what I was gonna be able to do to find my way out of the situation. So I did some fast talking instead, and believe it or not, it actually worked. I guess teenagers were satisfied they made their point because after they made Riley finish off the rest of the cheese, they let us go. They got back in the truck and took us and took us down off the road, and took off down the road. Me and Riley walked home together, but neither of us had really anything on our way back. I thought maybe mentioning to Riley that maybe he could have pulled a couple cryos back there, but something told me that I should hold off for now. After school, the teachers let us outside for lunch. It took about 5 seconds from someone to realize that the cheese was missing from the spot on the black top. Eventually, everyone crowded around and looked at the cheese. Nobody believed it was actually gone. People started coming up with all these crazy theories to it. Somebody said that maybe the cheese grew legs and walked away. I took on myself control to keep my mouth shut, and Riley wasn't staying there. I honestly don't know if I could have kept quiet. A couple of days, the guys were arguing over what happened to cheese. Some of the guys who were egging Riley in the afternoon. I knew it wasn't going to be long before someone put two and two together and figured out that we must have something to do with it. Riley was starting to panic. I don't blame either. If the truth ever came out about how the cheese disappeared, Riley would be finished, and he'd have to move out of the state, maybe even out of the country. And that's my side speak up. I told everyone I knew half of the cheese. I said I was sick of me being on a blacktop, so I decided to get rid of it once for all. For a second there, everyone just froze. I thought about how we were going to start thanking me for what I did. Oh boy, I was wrong. I really wish I had worded my story a little differently because I threw away the cheese. You know, that meant I had the cheese touch. Well, if Riley appreciated what I did for him last week, he hasn't said it, but I guess we started hanging out at school again, so I guess that means me and him are back to roll. Honestly, I could say so that far the cheese touch hasn't been that bad. He got me out doing square dance unit of his ed because no one part of me, and I've had a lunch table myself every day. Today was the last day of school, and they handed out yearbooks after 8th period. I flipped through the class favorite page, and there was one picture waiting for me. Like I said, if anyone wants for a yearbook, they can dig it out of the trash can in the back of the cafeteria. You know, Riley can have a class gun for all I care. If he ever gets too big for his britches, I'll remind him that he was the guy who ate the... That's time! Oh boy. 1 hour, 16 minutes, 23 seconds, and 68 hundredths of a second. Oh boy. My voice is gonna be gone tomorrow. Alright. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below. And when you're subscribed, hit the bell notification. So when I upload a video, you get a notification. And have a good day.